Bismillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. You're listening to Introduction to Philosophy of Science. Our lesson today is on cosmology and epistemology. There are two things you want to get from this lesson. First, you can describe cosmology and its associated disciplines, and secondly, you can discuss epistemology and its issues in science. To get those outcomes, we'll address these four philosophical inquiries. So number one, what is cosmology? Number two, what are cosmogony, astronomy, and mythology? Number three, what is epistemology and why is it important? And number four, what are epistemological issues in science? Like I mentioned in class, you specify these inquiries so that the lawyers in your mind, the voices that argue for or against positions in your mind, you want those voices to have focal points. This helps you stay relevant in your thinking process. Let's start with the term cosmology. So in science, cosmology refers to the study of the physical universe. So it focuses on the large-scale structure and evolution of the universe. So that usually means building mathematical models using physics and astronomical data. So when researchers talk about cosmology, they are often referring to things like dark matter, galaxy formation, or how the universe is expanding. In the philosophy of science, the understanding of cosmology is broader. The word cosmos means order in its original Greek. So cosmos is more than just physical object in space. It is the study of the universe as part of reality. It is the study of what is ordered and intelligible about reality. Intelligible here means what can be understood by the intellect. So for thousands of years, scholars didn't separate the physical universe from other aspects of reality. The cosmos also includes non-physical elements of reality. So that's why early cosmologies are expressed through narratives called mythologies, which we'll get to in a minute. So the main point here is that cosmology is understood much more broadly in metaphysics than it is in physics. When we talk about cosmology, there are a few closely associated disciplines. So we'll briefly touch on two of them and then expand the third one. Cosmogony is the study of how the universe began. So in modern science, cosmogony usually refers to theories like the Big Bang. It explains how the universe expanded from a very chaotic, dense state into the vast space we see today. So philosophically, cosmogony includes a broader range of ideas. It includes religious narratives and philosophical narratives as well. Astronomy is the study of celestial bodies and phenomena. So astronomy deals with objects in space like stars, planets, and galaxies. We use telescopes and other instruments to observe these celestial objects directly. Another discipline associated with cosmology is mythology. Today, when people say myth, they often mean stories that aren't true. But that's not how mythologies are understood by scholars, by historians of thought. Instead, myths are foundational stories that are remembered and passed down over countless generations. So they're not just fictional. So myths they offer symbolic explanations for fundamental human questions like why the universe exists, why we are here, and how we should act while we are here. Now, why are myths relevant to cosmology? Because, as we discussed earlier, cosmology isn't just about physical objects in space. Metaphysically, it includes non-physical aspects of reality. And myths are how civilizations express those non-physical realities, the meanings, the values, the beliefs that shape their worldview. Now, to help you see what I mean, I'm going to share a mythological narrative structure called the hero monomyth. So this is popularized by Professor Joseph Campbell. He studied myth from various cultures and discovered common patterns. Campbell called this pattern the monomyth, meaning the one myth that underlies many other myths. He has helped me see how mythologies function philosophically and psychologically. That's so cool. The hero monomyth has three main stages. So the first stage is departure. Here, the hero, the main character, receives a call to adventure. So they leave their familiar world, the world that they know, into something unknown. You actually do this in your life. This is the psychological stage when you leave the safety of your childhood, the safety of the naive beliefs that you have, and then you step into a more complex reality of adulthood, for example. And we see examples of this in modern narratives, like how Harry Potter stepped out from Dursley's home into the wizarding world. So the departure stage is the foundational step in the monomyth. It's how cultures symbolically explain the beginning of your personal transformation. The second stage is called initiation. So after the hero leaves their familiar world, they face a series of challenges or trials. Campbell calls this the road of trials. Along this journey, the hero encounters what Campbell calls the meeting with the goddess, a symbolic representation of unconditional love or deep emotional truth. By the way, this love doesn't have to be romantic. For example, yes, we can count Harry's romantic love for Ginny Weasley. That could be seen as one form of the goddess archetype, but that's much later in the story and only begins in Half-Blood Prince. But the more foundational goddess encounter comes through his mother, Lily Potter. Her sacrificial love protected Harry from death. It's a recurring symbol of Rahma, of grace in that story. You can also think of the love that Weasley's family has for Harry. And of course, Hermione's friendship and Ron's friendship. All of these are variations of the goddess moment. They symbolize the emotional grounding that sustains you when you face dark times. So the hero needs this grounding to face a confrontation called apotheosis. Apotheosis is the decisive moment of inner transformation. It means you are reaching a higher state of awareness, psychologically or morally. For Harry, this takes form in his confrontation with Voldemort and the Horcruxes. So it's not just a physical battle, it's also a spiritual and psychological war against fear, against evil, even against death itself. In your own life, you will face your own stage of initiation. You will walk through your personal road of trials. You will be supported by love and friendships in various forms. And you will be forced to face your versions of fear, of evil, and death. Death of someone you love, or even just death of an idea that you really believe in. If you respond to that confrontation the right way, it becomes your apotheosis. It's the moment you become an upgraded version of yourself. The final stage of the hero's monomyth is called return. So after you reach apotheosis, you, as the hero, return from the unknown world back into the known world, the familiar world. But now you're not the same person. You have fundamentally changed. You bring back newfound wisdom. In stories, this can be symbolized by a new power or a new sacred object. In Harry Potter, I don't think he gained any physical sacred objects. He gave up the Elder Wand and the Resurrection Stone. And you can't say the invisibility cloak is a new sacred object because Harry got it way earlier in the Philosopher's Stone, the first book, before confronting Voldemort. So the transformation in Harry is psychological. He decided not to keep the Elder Wand, which is a symbol of power. So he gives up power for wisdom. In your life, the stage of return happens whenever you go through deep personal struggles and transformations. You gain wisdom, you gain strength. Strength here can simply mean that situations which hurt you before don't hurt you anymore. So that's strength. And then you share these insights of wisdom and strength to people around you to help them out. All right, so that's a taste of how a myth can provide value for people. Mythology provides philosophical, psychological, and cultural values. As a student of natural science, I can understand why scientists may struggle to understand the value of mythology. I got lucky, actually. I only managed to grasp this idea because I was interested in the works of Syed Hossein Nasr. He's an Islamic philosopher and the teacher of my teacher, Prof. Osman Bakar. And then I also got to spend a lot of time studying psychology to help my wife get her master's degree in psychology in London. So I could coach and support her. And she ended up getting distinction and became one of the top students. Now think about it. Most scientists don't have those opportunities. So if you talk to science students about this, I suppose a quick way to at least trigger their curiosity is by pointing to the fact that a modern mythology like the Harry Potter franchise is currently worth around $25 billion. That means human beings, right? Adults, children, people of different countries, people who come from different backgrounds, we collectively invest energy and creativity and computing technology worth $25 billion to tell a myth. So even if you don't understand what the value is, you can sense that it has value. Now, keeping in mind the role of mythology, let's think about how civilizations express different perspectives on the cosmos. Each civilization has their own cosmological narratives. I'll put video examples of these later in the description. The point is this: different civilizations use cosmological myth to organize their understanding of reality. So these myths become lenses through which societies see their world and the way they see themselves. So when you study cosmology, you're not just studying stars and galaxies. You're also studying how human beings from different cultures understand their existence and their relationship with something bigger than themselves. To help you appreciate cosmological mythology, we can explore two myths, Enuma Elish and the Big Bang Theory. I chose the Enuma Elish because it's the oldest myth that archaeologists have found, nearly 4,000 years old. And that's in written form. The story itself would be much older. It is passed down orally long before being written. Enuma Elish is a Babylonian creation story. You have Tiamat. She symbolizes chaos and the feminine. Think of nature, think of forests before humans built cities. And then there's Apsu, who symbolizes order and masculinity. So think of cities, empires, social structures. Apsu was killed by the younger gods. So that symbolizes a situation where people, young people especially, begin to destroy the religious foundations of their society. So Tiamat became angry. She united an army of monsters and waged war against the younger gods. That symbolizes what happens when younger generations destroy the foundational values of society. You get chaos, you get disorder. And this could be psychological disorders or cultural disorders. You can think of mental illnesses or social problems. Yeah? So, to fight Tiamat's army, the younger gods appointed Marduk as their leader. So they went into battle and Marduk personally fought Tiamat. When you read how Marduk defeated Tiamat, it's interesting. I actually learned a lot from it and try to apply it in my life. For example, Marduk has eyes all around his head. So that symbolizes paying attention to everything around you. Marduk also speaks magic words. So that's communication. You speak properly to improve your situation. And what Marduk did was he cast a net around Tiamat. When you fight chaos or fight a big painful problem in your life, first you pay attention. Second, you speak properly and truthfully. And then you cast a net around that chaos, around that problem. You conceptualize and clarify all elements of that painful problem, all of it. I mean, if you yourself are part of the problem, you have to acknowledge it. And then Marduk unleashed 7 devastating winds. So winds symbolize strong forces. So don't think of number 7 here mathematically. 7 symbolizes completeness, like 7 days completing a week. Think of the lucky number 7 also. In psychology, when participants choose their favorite number, they tend to pick 7. You know that. And in football, many football clubs give jersey number 7 to their star players, partly for marketing reasons. So think of Cristiano Ronaldo or Vinicius Jr. So 7 is associated with the highest quality of performance. So you cast a net around Tiamat. You conceptually capture your painful life problem in its entirety. And then you unleash the 7 winds. You attack the problem with forces in a complete manner, with your highest quality people and highest quality technology. Finally, Marduk fired an arrow that pierced Tiamat's heart. What that means is you solve a problem by going straight to the heart of it. So don't get distracted by minor issues. So that's how you defeat that big, monstrous problem. And then Marduk built the world from Tiamat's remains. Once you have defeated a problem, what you do is you take its pieces, you learn from them, and then you integrate the lessons into your world. So you become wiser because of that battle with chaos. Now let's move to our current cosmological story, which is the Big Bang theory. Of course, the Big Bang is a scientific theory and not usually described as a myth, but philosophically and psychologically, it shares elements of mythology we discussed earlier. So the Big Bang theory states that the universe began about 13.8 billion years ago. At first, there was emptiness, and everything was compressed into this tiny, extremely hot point known as a cosmic singularity. And then suddenly the singularity burst forth. It expanded violently, creating space, creating time, creating matter, creating energy. And from this chaos, you get the formation of galaxies. You get the ignition of stars and the emergence of planets. Right? You start with chaos, the singularity, and then you have an explosive confrontation, the rapid expansion of the singularity. And finally, you have order emerging from that chaos, stars, galaxies, planets, and eventually life itself. So the Big Bang theory is scientifically as accurate as we can get with our current understanding, but it's also a beautiful foundational story of how existence came to be. So we have looked at 2 cosmological stories, the ancient Enuma Elish and the modern Big Bang theory. Now, let's summarize a key philosophical idea common to both of them, which is the idea of cosmic order. Both stories start with chaos. In Enuma Elish, it's symbolized by Tiamat. In the Big Bang theory, it's represented by the singularity. Both stories describe a process of moving from chaos into an organized cosmos. In philosophy, we call this idea creatio ex nihilo, which is Latin for creation out of nothing. Scientifically, the idea of creation from absolute nothingness is actually controversial. Physicists are still debating whether the singularity was truly nothing or just something that we can't fully comprehend that existed over 13 billion years ago. In any case, philosophically and psychologically, the idea is useful. It tells you that, yes, your situation right now might be full of confusion and darkness and chaos. But even from that, order and meaning can emerge. So this isn't just abstract. It's something that you can apply directly to your life. If you're struggling personally or emotionally, that struggle right now feels chaotic, it feels confusing and even meaningless. But if you face it by giving it your full attention, communicating truthfully, and organizing your logic and resources properly, then you can bring order out of that chaos. You can turn a painful experience into wisdom and strength. So this idea of cosmic order isn't just a philosophy about the universe. It's a valuable insight you can use in your life right now. Alright, I'll continue in the next video. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullah.